WWE Elimination Chamber 2026 is in the books, and we had a few surprises on this show. The biggest one coming in the men's main event, the men's chamber match, I should say, with the winner being Randy Orton. That was a bit of a surprise. Everything else that took place in the match, besides that, not much of a surprise, as we did get something that we did expect as a possibility, and that is the reveal of the Masked Man. We all thought it was going to wind up being Seth Rollins. It, in fact, was Seth Rollins. He came out near the end of the chamber to screw over Logan Paul, who had previously eliminated 3 people in the chamber. And then we had a decoy masked guy coming out to draw away the security. And then Rollins snuck in the ring, stomped Logan Paul, cost him the match, and left. And so Rollins was revealed as the Masked Man. Immediately after that, Drew McIntyre hit the ring, and he bashed Cody Rhodes upside the head, got involved in the match, and then Randy Orton came in to help. Then Cody hit Drew with a crossroads, and then Randy Orton hit Cody with an RKO and won the match. So right now it's McIntyre and Drew, but I still think it's very, very possible and likely that McIntyre winds up defending against multiple people, since once again he stuck his nose in where it did not belong. Also, who was in the crate? It was Danhausen. Those were the big reveals that we got tonight, and we are here to talk about it. Thank you to everyone who has been here all night long for the watch-along, watching the show. So thanks for sticking around now that we're into the review. If you're just joining us now, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, and let me know what you thought of the show in the chat. I did ask you guys prior to us transitioning into the review here to give me your grades, so I want to read through a couple of those. I don't think they're going to be terribly good. Although I do see an A+ in here from Garrett, or A-, which is not that bad. 80% from Dottie, not bad. 7 out of 10. A-, C+, B+, C, 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 B, C, C, B-, 3 out of 5. C+, 5 out of 10. B+, C, C-, B. Lots of B's and C's. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I got to go C, though, on the show for a couple of reasons. Number one, the Masked Man reveal wasn't that much of a surprise. You could kind of tell what they were doing. Even when the first masked guy came out and started climbing up the cage, you knew it was a decoy because the door was wide open. If you wanted to get in the ring, you could just get in the ring. So when he climbed up there, you knew that he was going to be used to draw away security, so we had that scouted. Then when we got the big box reveal, and it turned out to be Danhausen, he got booed to shit in the United Center, and it gave off the vibe of like broken Matt. You know, WWE has a habit of doing that with people that get over or get some attention outside of the company. Then they bring them in and they smear their WWE-ness all over that character and kind of takes away and robs it of everything that made it special to begin with. And I kind of fear that that might be what's going to happen to Danhausen there. But he was in the crate. It was not Chris Jericho. Danhausen was on most people's radar for the past, couple of weeks, ever since, that crate was introduced. And, maybe that segment could have gone a little bit better. So since Danhausen got a surprising negative reaction and, some of the stuff in the men's chamber was slightly predictable, and the women and the men's chamber, while neither one were necessarily bad, they didn't really stand out as chambers that you're going to remember forever in the 20-year history of this ridiculous match concept. Neither of these matches are going to be ones that I'm probably going to remember for a long time. So for those reasons, I would probably give it about a C. Not a particularly great chamber, but, I was confident in the predictions yesterday that regardless of, WWE's booking issues, the talent would go out there and probably deliver. And I think for the most part they did. And the matches... It's weird to say this, but I guess the matches could have been worse, I suppose. So I want to try to look at this as much as a cup half full situation as possible. But now this pay-per-view is out of the way, and we are now heading into WrestleMania, and we have a few of these matches beginning to take shape. And we're going to start our review by talking about the women's chamber match. That is what opened the show. And, of course, this was Rhea Ripley versus Alexa Bliss, Kiana James, Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez, and Tiffany Stratton. And, going into this, you look at the field there, and the only ones that really made any sense to me would be number one, Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley. And I had said a couple of weeks ago that if WWE doesn't know what direction they want to go in with Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair is clearly not ready for WrestleMania and not even close to being cleared yet, you have to put on your WrestleMania card the best looking match you possibly can. And while Tiffany and Jade have had their issue, you could certainly do that match if you wanted. You know, the bigger match would be Ripley and Cargill. And then one of the things I was pitching was Ripley and Io Sky dropping those tags to Nia Jax and Lash Legend, and that's exactly what we saw last night. On top of that, Rhea Ripley ate the pin last night. And I feel like that right there got a lot of fans talking, like, is Rhea Ripley really going to get pinned in 2 back-to-back matches within 24 hours of each other? You know, I feel like she dropped those tags last night so she could win this match here. So if Triple H was smart and he wanted to keep us guessing, I would have waited to do the tag title loss until after she won this match. And maybe do it next week on SmackDown or something. That way you don't go into this match thinking those things, and that it's probably highly unlikely that she's going to lose, 2 back-to-back matches like that in a row. So it came down to, well, first of all, I should say, I'm going by memory here. I didn't really make any notes. I thought Kiana James did have a really good outing, and I thought Raquel Rodriguez did okay as well. Alexa Bliss, of course, got misted in the face. That caused her downfall. And I believe the final 2 was Ripley and Tiffany, which I thought was appropriate because there were the only 2 realistic winners I could see happening. We've talked about the possibility of Alexa Bliss winning and then Charlotte finding her way into the match. But if McIntyre's getting a multi-opponent match, you can't do that with Jade Cargill. Otherwise, what's the fucking point of the chamber? So I just didn't see that being a possibility. Raquel would have been fun because of the Liv Morgan stuff, but I don't think WWE's really ready to pull the trigger on her yet. Tiffany Stratton's already been to the mountaintop, so you could put her back there. And, of course, Rhea Ripley is Ripley, and that's kind of a dream match with Jade Cargill, so she made the most sense in the end. Riptide, I believe, right to Tiffany Stratton. And Rhea Ripley wins the chamber, and she will now face Jade Cargill, who was hanging up in the box seats up there, or the luxury box or whatever it was, watching the match, and I think WWE made the right call there. That was really the only match that you could do for WrestleMania. If this was some other pay-per-view, then anybody could have won this thing. But Ripley and Jade, for WrestleMania, I think is, that's one piece of the puzzle. Because this WrestleMania, we've been hearing reports about discombobulated creative and frustration amongst talent. At least WWE's doing the right thing with a couple of these matches here, like doing Ripley and Jade Cargill. I think the next big thing they need to do is have Obafemi come out and confront Brock Lesnar, because last Monday on Raw, Brock has issued an open challenge for WrestleMania. And the fact that no talent came out there to answer that challenge made everybody look weak as fuck. And then Brock puts up the entire list of dates that he's scheduled for between now and WrestleMania. And if they drag this bullshit out where nobody answers this challenge until the final week, that is unbelievably stupid. And on Monday, the crowd was chanting for Obafemi. So I'm really hoping this Monday on Raw. Oh, wait, no, I don't think Brock is there Monday on Raw. I don't think he's back until, I guess, March 16th or something? So, yeah, he's actually probably not even on Raw Monday night. So, anyway, the next time Brock is on TV, Obafemi needs to come out, and that's a match WWE needs to do at WrestleMania. I think fans would really love that. If not Oba, then it's got to be Gunther. It cannot be anybody other than those 2 guys. We heard the rumors of the LA Knight match. I think based on how he got eliminated here tonight, we can rule him out. LA Knight would be an absolutely absurd match for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He got low blowed and rolled up pinned by Logan Paul shortly into the Elimination Chamber here tonight. And he botched his little top rope bouncy thing, elbow that he does, and he fell off the top. So LA Knight and Brock, just no. So Brock and his little open challenge deal, it has to be Gunther or Oba. If it's anybody else other than Gunther or Oba, WWE are fools. But They did Ripley and Jade, so I'm confident they will do one of those two matches. This is WrestleMania. Got to give us those. So Ripley and Jade, I think, looks really good on the marquee. It's a sexy match, and they did the right thing there, giving Rhea the victory there. After that, we had the Intercontinental title on the line. It was Becky Lynch defending against AJ Lee. I was worried about this match potentially sucking because the build and the in-ring promos between the two have been atrocious on Monday Night Raw. Really cringy, horrible to watch. Like I said yesterday, a big bucket of warm liquid shit. Nothing at all fun about those. They're hard to watch. AJ Lee hasn't been in the ring, in a decade. She hasn't had a singles match in that long anyway, and she's only been in the ring a couple of times since her return. And I was a little bit worried, but I got to say, I thought the match was decent. What did you guys think of the match? What would you grade AJ and Becky Lynch? What grade would you give that? How many stars, I guess? I wasn't paying enough attention to give it really a star rating, but I'd give it 2 to 3, I guess. It wasn't bad. And AJ Lee, I was pleasantly surprised with how she was moving around there a little bit. She had one little fun sequence where I thought she just looked really sharp and really crisp. I'm like, she's been working out. Her and Punk probably train all the time. So I thought she did really well in there. And we had more Jessica Carr stuff in this match. She took a kick from Becky Lynch, and she was down for a long time, but earlier on in the match, Becky had already removed the turnbuckle pad, so Jessica had retrieved it to try to put it back on, and then she got kind of hit in the corner a little bit, but she was okay. Then she got kicked in the face by Becky, and she went down, and Becky was tapping out to the Black Widow, but of course there was no referee. And then later on, Becky, was it a manhandle on AJ Lee? I don't know if it was whatever happened there. Jessica Carr. Oh, I think Jessica Carr prevented. That's what it was. Jessica Carr, I believe, prevented Becky from using the corner again, and that allowed AJ Lee to recover and put Becky Lynch back in the Black Widow and get her to submit and tap out. So basically it was centered around Jessica Carr again, who Becky Lynch hates. And we were talking about this during the match because I had mentioned just randomly about Jessica Carr, and I thought I had heard something about her training to maybe be a wrestler, and she's been documenting her body transformation on social media for a couple of years now. She's in tremendous shape. She's ripped, she's jacked, and apparently she's been training a little bit. So I'm wondering, I said this out loud during the watch along, I'm like, does this lead to her getting in the ring? I mean, Becky's pissed. She was tweeting out her anger immediately after the match, directing it at Jessica Carr. So, I don't know if Becky's attention now is going to be directed on Jessica Carr revenge or regaining her Intercontinental title. Now you've got AJ Lee as the champion, and AJ Lee's pretty part-time, but luckily this is WrestleMania season. So a lot of fans who are worried about, AJ's part-time, she's just going to take the belt and leave for 4 months. No, that's not necessarily what's probably going to happen. She's going to be sticking around because even part-timers are on TV most weeks leading up to WrestleMania. Hell, even Brock is going to be on TV 5 weeks between now and then. And that's a lot. So I think AJ, from now until Mania, will be on television probably close to every single week, and I think it's likely she will drop the title at WrestleMania. So what I had mentioned, what I would do is, one thing we don't want to do is do AJ Lee and Becky Lynch again. And now Becky, of course, is going to want her Intercontinental title back, but she also might want a piece of Jessica Carr. So I don't think we're going to necessarily get Becky Lynch versus Jessica Carr at WrestleMania or anything, but this could lead to Jessica doing something physical in the future. In the meantime, AJ's the champion. She's going to be going into WrestleMania now. You would assume to have a title match, they're probably going to put her on the card. And if they do, who does she wrestle? We saw how awful those segments on TV were between Becky and AJ leading up to this match here at Elimination Chamber. The last thing we want as fans is 7 more damn weeks of that. So I think if AJ's going to defend, I think you should do a multi-challenger thing. You can't do a shit ton of multi-man matches or multi-woman matches, but if you do one for the IC, you do one for the women's tag, and you do one for Drew. Those 3 across the 2 nights, I think, is maybe the direction we're going in. Because I think the women's tags should probably also be a multi-team affair. Alexa, Charlotte, Kabuki's, and Bella's. And maybe that's where the Bellas pick up the tag titles, is in that match. That way they don't have to beat Nia Jackson, Lash Legend straight up. They can just pin Alexa Bliss or something and win the titles. I think they might do that. For the IC, I would have AJ defend against Becky Lynch and maybe throw Maxine and Natty into the mix. And if you did that, I would have Natty win the title. I would have Natty pick up the belt. A lot of people are anti-Natty. I'm not. And I think as a Hart family member, that's kind of where my heart is. I think that's why I'm so pro-Natty, is because the idea of me being 48 years old and a Hart family member is Intercontinental Champion, that just tickles me inside. So I want that for her. 3, count them, of her uncles have held that belt. And I think she should too, even if it's a short run. So now that she's low-key legend and, she's this new gimmick, give her the IC at Mania. That's my pitch. But that way, it keeps a relatively short run on AJ Lee, and during her run, it keeps her on TV virtually every week. Now, unless WWE wants AJ to have a longer run and keep her on TV full-time for about 3 months, give her a couple of title defenses, and then she loses and then leaves, maybe that's the case. But I think her winning here could be a pretty strong sign that she just drops that thing at WrestleMania. And I don't know if it will be Becky Lynch getting that back. I mean, that title is only, a year or so old, and Becky Lynch would be a 3-time Intercontinental Champion if she wins it again? Seems a bit much. So, I'm going Natty at WrestleMania. That's my hope, anyway. After that, after wife wins her championship, husband defends his. CM Punk and Finn Balor was up next. Balor was out first, and I cannot say enough great things about CM Punk's entrance. They were in the United Center tonight. Elimination Chamber returning to the United Center for the first time in almost 32 years. Last time they were there was the first event ever held in that building, SummerSlam 1994. They opened the United Center. The first thing to ever happen there was a WWE show. One of my favorite SummerSlams of all time. Brett and Owen in a cage, Razor and Diesel, Taker and Taker, Tatanka and Luger. Fun times, man. We've watched that together. And it's taken them 32 years to get back into the United Center. That's how long it's been. The United Center is also the home of the Chicago Bulls, where they won many championships back in the 90s. And now it's CM Punk's turn to come out, and he comes out, I forget the name of it, but he comes out to the old Chicago Bulls entrance music, the same music that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat used to use in WWE in the 80s. He comes out to that while they have the voice, the PA announcer from those Chicago Bulls intros. And now, your Chicago Bulls. I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. We were fighting toe-to-toe with the Bulls, and even I can admit that is the best entrance in NBA. My Detroit Pistons with the final countdown is number 2, but the Bulls have the best one. And those were epic. Those were epic introductions, so grand, very WWE-like. And so Punk coming out to that and having the PA guy announce him, and then that little pause there, and then Cult of Personality plays. I thought that was tremendous. I'm a 90s NBA mark. Haven't followed really the league in years, although I'm paying a little bit more attention now that the Pistons are good. Really good. Beat OKC the other night. Beat Cavs last night. They're good. So, but, I haven't really cared since back in the day when Magic and Jordan and Isaiah and Bird and, and everybody, and Kareem and all those guys played. So I marked out for that. I thought that was really awesome. The match, I had it going a different way. I predicted it right with Punk winning, but I kind of thought that this was going to lead to a Finn Balor babyface turn, which it very well may have, because we saw Punk and Balor share a handshake here, as you see at the end of the match. But Balor was so adamant to the Judgment Day guys on Raw not to interfere, and he wants to do it by himself. I thought that meant for sure that they were going to come out and interfere anyway and possibly cost him the match, and that can kind of lead you to his breaking away from the Judgment Day and maybe a Dominic and Balor match at WrestleMania. Even during the match, midway through, there was a little moment there where Balor was almost looking back through the entranceway as if to signal the Judgment Day guys. But maybe he's like, no, I told myself I want to do it on my own. So the match in the ring, I didn't really think was that bad. I was very concerned with Punk just remaining healthy into WrestleMania. And I thought the match was okay, but it was nothing that terribly special, I don't think. But it was still good, and Punk survived one coup de grace, kicked out of that. Balor survived a GTS with a magnificent sell on that. He kind of crumpled and fell under and through the ropes and outside the ring. That looked really good. But in the end, it was no Judgment Day. It was Punk, who was bleeding from the mouth by this point, simply getting Balor up for one more GTS and putting him down, beating him clean in the championship match, which that really is the way it should go. He's the champion. He's going into WrestleMania's main event. He's got to win strong, So my prediction of Balor getting some unwanted help from the Judgment Day that winds up backfiring didn't happen at all, and Punk just beat Balor. But they did share a nice handshake there, and I'm sure this is probably going to lead to a Balor babyface turn, and I guess we're going to get him versus Dominic at Mania. I don't know what either guy does other than face each other. And like I said, we've been hearing these reports, this mystery push of Finn Balor for over a year now. He was supposed to get one last year. At least that's what we heard. Never happened. Then we kind of heard it again, and he's had a couple of title matches here within a month against Punk, and he's lost them both clean, and one of them was in his hometown. So what opportunities in the world title scene are really available right now for Balor? Doesn't feel like any. So in the meantime, he's going to have to maybe face Dominic Mysterio and win the Intercontinental title. And I had Dominic pegged all year long, or actually for the last few months, to win the Money in the Bank briefcase this year. I still think he's going to. But you could make a case for Balor now, because it's going to be hard, theoretically, you would think, for him to get a title shot based on, or at least in the near future, based on some of these losses he's had now. So maybe a briefcase is the only way for him to get there. But I think Dominic would make a much more fun briefcase holder. Dominic is who I'm hoping for when it comes to briefcasing. Then we were wondering, we've all been waiting all night. WWE even teased the crate earlier on in the night with a Papa John's commercial, and now we are out on the stage. My question going into the big crate reveal was, number one, where is this segment going to take place? Is it going to be backstage, or is it going to be in the ring? And where is it going to take place? What spot on the card? This was the semi-main event. This was a spot on the card, essentially, that I said wouldn't be suited for Danhausen. I said, if this thing is in the ring, I kind of didn't think about the stage, I should have, but this is a pay-per-view segment, a PLE segment, go-home show to WrestleMania, a show with only 4 matches on it. If you're going to have some big reveal, some new star coming out of the crate on a show like this, it's got to be someone bigger than Danhausen. They would just do this on Raw and promote it for Raw, promote it for Netflix, and have him his debut there. Doing this on pay-per-view felt weird to me if it was going to be Danhausen. So I thought if it was going to be some big segment right before the main event or something, then it's got to be Jericho. But we had a feeling it was going to be Danhausen. Danhausen's been hinting it for the past 24 hours on social media, even more or less saying that he's no longer under contract from AEW. And then, of course, in case you haven't heard on Twitter from the 6 million people reporting it, he was removed from the AEW roster page as well. So Danhausen was on a lot of our radars going in. Yesterday in the predictions, I did predict him to be in the crate because I was just going on the odds. I think right now the odds are more likely that it's Danhausen than it's Chris Jericho at this point, so we went with Danhausen, and it was Danhausen. So the crate opens up to reveal, well, Aldis and Pierce are both out there. They pry it open with a crowbar, and then when it opens up, there's like another wooden box, like a coffin in there. But you can already see the red light, so it's like, okay, this is going to be Danhausen. They open up the box, and out comes about 20 women dressed in Danhausen paint dancing, and then Danhausen emerges from the crate. He comes out, he gets some little fireworks, he's got the dancers. He comes in the ring, and he just basically does a little Danhausen thing, and he does his pose maybe, and the lights go out, and when they come back on, everybody is gone. During this, he was getting booed. The United Center crowd was booing him. I thought a friend of Pepsi Phil would be a friend of Chicago. I guess not. So the crowd did not like it was Danhausen, and I think Danhausen is great. I love him. I'm so happy for his opportunity. I thought he was done a little bit wrong in AEW. And I'm glad. I felt bad that he had to wait so long to become contractually free to go somewhere else. But I kind of thought if Danhausen would come into WWE, we would just pull him out from underneath the ring, or he'd show up in NXT first, or he'd just kind of be around. But he had this big unveiling, this big debut, and he put a little jar of teeth next to Michael Cole, and the whole thing was really weird, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Broken Matt. And WWE's got a habit of this when, Broken Matt is a perfect example, this quirky, goofy-ass gimmick. And I remember way back in like 2016 getting a whole bunch of messages from you guys. Greg, I know you don't watch TNA, but we got to get your thoughts on the Broken Matt. And I watched the final deletion and just how batshit bonkers it all was, but how fun it was. And it was so over and so popular and generated so much buzz, especially online, that WWE took notice. And they started working diligently to try to get Matt Hardy into the company and trying to get him free and clear away from TNA. And then he came in, with the Hardy Boy reunion at WrestleMania 33, and he kind of still had the streak, and then it was shortly after that they decided to bring back that Broken Matt. I think it was the name they were trying to do, right? Was it Woken Matt? Or was Broken Matt in TNA and then Woken Matt Hardy in WWE because they couldn't use the name or something? There was something going on there they were trying to fight for. But by the time they brought him in, you just can't it can't be as good as it was in TNA. There's just a goofiness to it that you're not going to be able to match when you smear your WWE likeness all over it and you give it an elaborate theme song and you just make it too much. And I think that's what's going to happen to Danhausen here. He's Adam Rose, and I feel like that's all his gimmick is going to be, or his character is going to be, which is perfectly fine. You need a new R-Truth. You need a fun comedy character. You need an R-Truth or a Boogeyman or a Kamala or somebody that can be around for backstage segments. Danhausen is not going to be main eventing WrestleManias against Roman Reigns. It's just not going to happen. But he is, and hopefully can be, a really fun and entertaining part of the show that will not be ruined by WWE, because Danhausen on his own is a tremendously funny and entertaining guy. I've always thought so. And Danhausen gets a lot of hate from the fuck boys, the anger boys. They're terrible. But the tribal ones hated his guts in AEW. We'll see how they feel about him now. But Danhausen, there's a lot of wrestling fans that don't care for him, and that's totally fine, but I wouldn't let yourself get too upset about it. He's a mid-level, bottom-level character that's just there kind of for comedy and for laughs and is never going to be doing anything super serious. So it shouldn't matter to you, But the way he was brought out, it immediately makes me realize made me think of WWE's tendency to not know what to do with people once they have them. And that, I worry, could be the case for Danhausen. It's not going to be his fault, but WWE, when they are so controlling and micromanaging and scripting over everything they do, a character that's this goofy and weird, I don't think that's a good formula for a character like that. So we will see. Hopefully, for Danhausen's sake, I am dead wrong about that. And Danhausen bounces back on whatever show he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to float both shows or what. Or how seriously they're going to take him in the ring. I mean, Danhausen can work, but he's not really known for his in-ring work, you know what I mean? He's more known for just his goofy antics and shit. So we'll have to see what direction WWE takes with him and how they treat him differently than other places where he has worked. And if he's going to be exactly the way he's been other places, or they're going to try to mold him a little bit into a certain way, or if maybe based on the reaction here, they might make him heel. They might have to turn him heel, or he goes around cursing baby faces and shit. And then you slowly morph that back into being a babyface when the time is right. I don't know, but he did not get very warmly received by the United Center crowd. But we did get the answer to our question, who was in the mystery crate? And it was, in fact, Danhausen. Welcome to WWE. He did an intro for us on the channel one time. He's great, and he's a family man. Seems like a great guy, and got stuck in AEW for way too long, which was a shame. So we will see what Danhausen does, and I'm sure we will probably see him on Raw on Monday in some form. So welcome to WWE, Danhausen. All right, and that leaves us then with the main event. It was the men's Money in the Bank, the men's Elimination Chamber match. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton versus Logan Paul versus Tricky Williams versus Javon Evans and LA Knight. We had, let me see, who started. We had Cody and Javon starting, so it was Randy Orton, Logan, Trick, and Knight. They were occupying the pods, and I thought they started with the right two guys. Javon is a perfect guy to start with, although I was a little bit disappointed in his performance because I was really hoping we were going to get a big cutter from him off the pod. We didn't really get that. We got a frog splash from him, but he didn't go as crazy as I thought he would, and his elimination was quite scary as well. But the third man in, I believe, was Trick, so Cody got to wrestle with Trick Williams and Javon Evans. There's a lot of jokes in there. And the biggest surprise, I guess, of the Elimination Chamber was when Logan Paul got in the ring. Logan Paul eliminated by himself half of the field. So it's starting to come a little bit clearer now what WWE probably originally had planned on Raw on Monday. Because when you think about somebody who's going to eliminate three guys, that's much more suited for a Bronson Reed or a Braun Breaker. So this was probably initially and originally set to be Breaker. He was probably going to qualify. He was going to eliminate half the motherfuckers in there and then get screwed by the Masked Man. Then when he got hurt, they're like, all right, we're going to do it with Reed. And then on Monday, he gets hurt in his qualifier. They have to call an audible, putting Jey Uso over. And so you were wondering what the original plans were. We had heard that Reed was scheduled to win, and I thought the Masked Man was going to come out and cost Reed. But what I think was going to happen on Monday is what we saw last night. Jey Uso attacked prior to SmackDown, knocked out of the chamber. This is WWE correcting what they had to fuck up on Monday. And then Logan Paul got put into a qualifier, and he won it. During that qualifier, the Masked Man emerged to be unmasked, and it was a complete nobody. So I think that was the finish they had planned for the Bronson Reed match. I think a Masked Man was supposed to come out, get unmasked, revealed to be no one, and then Bronson Reed winds up winning, and he was the one with the 3 eliminations tonight. So when Logan Paul had those 3 eliminations, eliminating Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and then low-blowing and rolling up LA Knight to eliminate him, that's when we see the emergence of the Masked Man. The crowd starts going nuts. Masked Man hops the barricade and immediately starts climbing up the cage, up the Elimination Chamber. But Trick, who just got eliminated, is being helped out. That 40-foot tall, 40-foot wide, obnoxiously large fucking door is wide open. But the Masked Man climbs to the top of the chamber. He's then chased by a bunch of security, and so that made everything really obvious. If he wanted to get in the ring, he'd just go through the door. So the fact that he scurried up there, he's drawing all the security away. They now pull him out of there, and once the dust settles, another Masked Man emerges, I believe, from underneath the ring, slips in the door, stomps Logan Paul, and reveals the mask to be a returning Seth Rollins, which we had a feeling because this was the probably initial plan for Breaker. It was supposed to be Breaker doing all of this, then Rollins showing up in the chamber, revealing himself, screwing over Breaker, and boom, we've got Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker at WrestleMania. But now that was probably moved to Bronson Reed, and now it might be transferred to Logan Paul. But 3 years ago, we got Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. I was there, WrestleMania 39. So are we going to get that again? Logan versus Rollins, or are they going to maybe try to have Breakker back in time? Or maybe you book Rollins and Logan because that's the only thing you can do, and then Breakker maybe returns at WrestleMania and helps Logan beat Seth. Maybe that's what you do, but Rollins being revealed tonight was a pretty high likelihood because of, the match we feel like is planned for WrestleMania. It's got to be Seth under the hood. It's not going to be anybody else. So WWE probably wasn't going to start that angle of who's under the mask if they didn't think Rollins was going to be cleared for Mania. So this is really good news. Even though we've lost a bunch of guys to injury, we got one back. We got the leader of the Vision, or the former leader of the Vision. And I still question whether or not you need to still keep the faction called the Vision, because there's nobody left except Logan Paul and Austin Theory. So now Rollins is back. He has cost Logan Paul his opportunity. He's gone, and it's down to Cody and Randy, and that's when Drew McIntyre shows up. Drew shows up, blasts Cody with the belt, starts attacking him. Randy Orton then shows up to help out. He attacks Drew McIntyre and hits him with an RKO, and then I think Cody comes up to hit him with the Crossroads, and Orton kind of gives him his blessing, but you could tell what was going to happen. As soon as Cody hit that Crossroads, Randy came in and nailed Cody with an RKO, and he got the win. So Randy Orton basically did exactly what Cody did in that match with Sami Zayn. When Sami kind of helped out when McIntyre interfered, Cody took advantage of that. Orton did the same thing here by taking advantage of Cody Rhodes. So Orton is your victor here, and the only thing that worries me about that is now Cody Rhodes, if he's going to get in this match, which you would assume he still is, he's going to have to be added to that. So I thought it might be best for him to win and other people be added, but instead he lost. So what I think is going to happen now, I don't think WWE is going to get too overly cute with this. I think it's going to probably wind up being Aldis being pissed at McIntyre for all of his bullshit and everything that he's done, and he's going to make that match at WrestleMania as punishment. He's going to force Drew McIntyre to basically defend the title against everybody he screwed. And he's already been losing his patience with McIntyre and warning him, hey, you keep up the shit and you're going to be sorry. And now Drew interferes in the chamber in screwing this up. So I think it's going to be pretty simple on SmackDown, or unless they might want to drag it out a couple of weeks, but Aldis, you would think, would be furious about this. So on SmackDown, hey, dickhead, you screwed over this guy, and this guy. Guess who you're facing at WrestleMania? All them bitches. And it's Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu being added to the match. Now, Randy Orton might have a big problem with that. He might be like, no, that's bullshit, man. But you're going to have to work around that. Or maybe I feel like Randy Orton's character is going to have to object. Even babyface Orton, he's going to have to object to that. Like, no, man, it's my opportunity. I won the chamber. I should get in there. And then Aldis is going to have to explain to him, hey, yeah, that's true, but McIntyre has screwed a lot of people, including you, out of matches, and he's got to pay. And Aldis and Orton have already had issues in the past. So, if you are going to do a heel turn with Randy Orton, I have already said that if McIntyre defends the title in a multi-man match at Mania, he will retain. And I still believe that. So if McIntyre retains, you could have Orton essentially more or less kind of blaming Aldis for that. Like, I had McIntyre one-on-one. You fucked my matchup, and I lost because of you. Maybe RKO's him or something. And then maybe we were talking about that Aldis and Orton match last year at WrestleMania, weren't we? So maybe we still get that. I don't know. Maybe we get Becky versus Jessica Carr and Orton versus Aldis in the future. I don't know. But on TV, they're going to have a story reason to add those guys, which they do because Drew's been interfering. But I'm curious how Randy Orton accepts that and if that's going to be essentially good enough for him. And if he is going to fight that too hard, or if the babyface in him is going to be, hell yeah, let's do it. Oh, okay, we've got an announcement here. 30 minutes ago from WWE. Aldis is pissed. Let's listen. You guys might be telling me this.
So that one man could earn the shot to face you at WrestleMania, but you couldn't do that, could you? Like a little boy, you can't stand when the attention isn't all on you.
I better turn this down.
All on you now, Drew. And now I need your attention to be on me.
Aldis is pissed. I'm just seeing this now.
You seem to be so hell-bent on preventing Cody Rhodes to get another shot at you. Well, guess what? This Friday night on SmackDown, it is Drew.
So Aldis has made Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the title this Friday on SmackDown. Aldis crashed the post-show, pissed, and called out McIntyre, and now he's making a championship match. So we're already on the road to this happening. So up now McIntyre's out. He's getting in Aldis's face. So if McIntyre, he's probably going to do something else on SmackDown to survive that. And so, yeah, so this looks like it's going to be a slower burn. They're not going to make the 3 or 4-way match for the title on the very next SmackDown. It's going to be Cody and McIntyre first. The finish of that will probably continue this story, and eventually the end result will be McIntyre defending against everybody. And if he does, I'm telling you, just like Angle in that Hell in the Cell at Armageddon, he's got to win. He's got to win if he's going to be in there against all those dudes. I would have McIntyre successfully retain at Mania. So that's some news. But yeah, you guys are probably telling me that in the chat, most likely. But I will knock out some of these super chats now. I also want to go over here and make sure I don't miss any. Pull up my master list. Thanks again for being here with us all night long. We'll finish up with some chat talk, see what you guys are saying. And I want to make sure I at least answer all the supers that came through tonight as well. All right. Okay, there we go. I only missed 3. Ryan Adams, appreciate that too, bro. Rhodes versus McIntyre this Friday for the belt. Yeah, I was just seeing that now. Thank you for letting me know. Juliet's got 5. Aldis told Drew after Elimination Chamber that he'd defend the title against Cody on SmackDown. Thank you. Everybody's telling me. And Mike Witt's got 5. Howdy, Greg and chat. Curious on where Jacob Fatu figures in this whole deal. Surprised he didn't make an appearance tonight. Me too, but they might be saving that. He got fucked over again last night, right? So I think all of that is going to factor in. We just got the announcement a little while ago from Nick Aldis, a pissed-off Nick Aldis, that Cody Rhodes will get a title shot against McIntyre on Friday. McIntyre then comes out, and he's pissed at Aldis. So I think McIntyre's going to come up with some sort of a plan to escape that match with Cody Rhodes, which is then just going to further infuriate Aldis. And like I said, eventually, no matter however many weeks this takes, the end result will be Aldis making McIntyre defend against 3 guys at WrestleMania. This could also piss off Randy Orton. And you could have Aldis having 2 guys upset with him, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Because Orton, essentially, his odds are going to go down if his title match that he's earned is now being infiltrated by 1 or 2 other guys. So I still think a 4-way is the way to go, and I think that's the story they're in the process of telling us right now. And now with Cody and McIntyre on Friday, unless you did something crazy like put the belt back on Cody Rhodes, but I feel like McIntyre should survive. He should do something shady or sketchy to screw over Cody, and that just pushes Aldis over the limit, and he delivers the ultimate punishment to Drew McIntyre. Or you put the belt back on Cody, and then Drew is pissed, and now it's going to be Cody and Orton, but maybe Drew and Jacob find their way in, and it's Cody defending. I don't know how any of this is going to work, but it sounds like this match that's made for Friday is going to help further this inevitability of that belt being defended in a multi-man deal. All right, let me go back over here to my master chat. Aldis versus McIntyre at Mania. It could be if McIntyre does, in fact, drop the belt next week. Seth versus Brock. I don't know if it's going to be Seth versus Brock. Although, Brock is now represented again by Paul Heyman. I kind of just want Brock and Gunther or Brock and Oba. I think that's the match to do. I mean, we've seen Rollins and Brock so many times over the years. If Brock has a finite amount of matches left, I would like to see him in there, with a fresher face. But you could always have Braun Breaker come back. You never know. Where's Royce Crybaby Keys? Don't call him names. I bet you've cried before. You don't even have a picture, Dorian. It's easy to talk smack when you won't even show your face, I bet you've cried before. Probably are right now. Reading some of the chat comments here just to see if there's anything sticking out. Juliet Solomonster is incensed so he's pissed that Chicago booed Danhausen. I'm surprised. I wouldn't say I'm pissed, but I am surprised. I thought Danhausen had a little bit more respect from a crowd like Chicago. Plus, him and Pepsi Phil are boys. And I just thought the crowd would just welcome him with their Chicago open arms. Any friend of Phil is a friend of ours. Just a embarrassing display from the Chicago audience, disrespectful to our very nice, very evil friend. He might put a curse on the whole damn United Center. They should be careful. His debut, pretty sure he cursed Adam Cole, right? And that worked. So, better watch yourselves there, United Center. Don't shit on him too hard. We like Danhausen. But I do worry. I mean, I hope maybe the crowd was booing more WWE than Danhausen himself. It's not like they were disappointed to see him. Maybe it's just that wasn't the time or the setting for that. And that's one thing that I will agree with if anybody has that opinion. I kind of feel like this whole Danhausen debut, they could have just done a little vignettes for him on Raw and built it up to a debut or a reveal there and done it on Raw. This is a pay-per-view segment. And they had quite the production for him. And sometimes sometimes WWE just... They almost use a guy too hard, or they don't understand, especially with characters like Danhausen, what makes them special, and they just oversaturate and they water down the presentation and they put their WWE stamp on it, which just immediately just ruins it. It gives it the stink, and that's what I fear for Danhausen. But I hope I'm wrong on that, because I've always felt that Danhausen can hopefully be like a long-time comedy character, but someone who's never going to be on a level any higher than like where Adam Rose was. That dancing shit guy, remember him? So it's like that. He probably won't get any higher on the card than that, but hopefully will be beloved to a level like R-Truth. Because R-Truth is in his 50s. He can't be around forever. You used to have the Boogeyman popping up from time to time, sometimes the Brooklyn Brawler. Every now and then Kamala or the Iron Sheik would show his face backstage for some fun. But Danhausen, being that guy, just to create lighthearted moments on the show, I hope can turn out to be a good thing, and the fans find whatever segments they do with Danhausen entertaining. And if he's going to be in the ring, Danhausen can definitely work. I think he's misunderstood in his work. A lot of fans think he can't work at all. He can. But at the same time, when you're looking at the talent that is in that ring, I can't see any 5-star fucking U.S. title open challenge matches with Carmelo Hayes. You know what I mean? Danhausen ain't that kind of worker, and he's not the main event of WrestleMania either. So he's going to have to be Danhausen. He's going to have to be himself, and he's funny and entertaining in that way. And hopefully if WWE knows what their limits are with him, and they use him in a fun way that doesn't piss off or bother or annoy the fans. That's what we have to hope for here, because we know that Danhausen can be entertaining. We've seen that in AEW. We've seen that on the independents. He's a goofy-ass dude, very unique. Nobody ever liked him before. So just like Broken Matt was. And I just worry that when WWE gets their hands on a gimmick like that, dead in the water. And so I really want to hope that that's not the case for Mr. Hausen, because we love him on this channel. So, yeah. All right, well, it's been a long night of streaming here, about 4 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. But those of you who know what Sundays mean here on the channel, we are going to be back again tomorrow night for our classic watch-along, and it's going to be WrestleMania 23. So we are going to be starting this watch-along 1 hour earlier than we normally do. We will be live at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific tomorrow night, since this is nearly a 4-hour show. And we're going to watch one of the only WrestleManias left out of the first 25 that we have not yet watched. So WrestleMania 23 tomorrow, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Make sure you're here. And then we will even be here on Monday night after Raw as well. Although I do have to get one of my blood treatments on Mondays, and then that usually knocks me out. But I'm still going to be here to review Raw, because I think we're going to see some good stuff on the show. So that is a wrap for the most part. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I hope you do fun things. Me and Elizabeth are watching Righteous Gemstones, which somebody at work was asking me about. I'm like, no, I've never even heard of that. He goes, you've never heard of that show created by Danny McBride? I'm like, no. And so I've discovered it, and it's funny as fuck. So we're in the middle of season 2 right now. It's a show about televangelists set in the Carolinas, where I used to live. I used to live around all those wackos, and it's good stuff. So if you've never seen Righteous Gemstones, or you have, you can share your glee with me, because that's a pretty damn good show. So that's what we're watching right now. And I think we're going to be getting into that tonight after I have some dinner. That's right. Roman Reigns does return on Monday as well. He's probably going to kick off his thing with CM Punk. I'm sure we're going to get another face-to-face confrontation between those two. And then down the line in a couple of weeks, I'm sure we are going to have to get some sort of a contract signing. And we will see if anything else, any other elements get added to Punk and Roman. Now that it's official. I think we always knew it was official, but now it's official. Punk and Roman at Mania, probably going to be the Night 2 main event. And is that going to be enough? One-on-one in the ring, Roman and Punk with a clean winner. Is that enough for the Night 2 main event? Or do you need to add other stuff? Do we need a Heyman sighting in this ordeal? Are we going to get a heel turn out of CM Punk, perhaps? Any sort of a swerve, any sort of a surprise, anything in that main event at WrestleMania that we're not expecting to see? Could we see The Rock show up and rock bottom CM Punk and help Roman Reigns win? I feel like we might need something like that. Just a straight-up match inside the ring. I mean, that should be enough, but in today's day and age, sometimes it's not. Just a straight-up one-on-one match inside the ring, no interference, no nothing, clean finish with Roman Reigns celebrating his champion with the pyro going off by himself, I guess, but I feel like that might almost be a letdown ending to WrestleMania. So I'm hoping that we can do some fun stuff, and we might get some twists and turns along the way that might culminate in a big surprise at WrestleMania. So we will see how all of that starts to play out this Monday on Raw. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks again for being here all night. Enjoy any of the other YouTubers. You're going to stay up and watch their reviews. And if you are watching this on demand, please drop a comment below. The watch-along portion of this will probably stay up for a few hours until it's done processing. Then I'll slice it off, and you'll just have the review up. That way I can avoid any potential copyright matches and whatnot, since I had the volume a little loud. So you guys have a great, great rest of your evening, and I will catch you tomorrow for WrestleMania 23. Good night, y'all. Peace.